everybody, welcome back to yet another video of FikarNot.com. Now FikarNot from studies. So today we're going to be studying about visualizing solid shapes. Visualizing, as in you see something in your mind and you visualize it. Solid shapes, as in there's something called solid. Solid is something which has 3 dimensions, right? And shapes, as in you can say a square or a triangle or whatever shapes, right? These are the very basic shapes that we have been learning about. So something like this. So let's get into more detail, yeah? And let's start with this chapter. So first of all, let us recall the different 2D and 3D shapes. So we have triangle, rectangle, square, pentagon, hexagon, octagon, and circle. So triangle is something which has 3 sides. Okay, don't take this as they're equal. It's not an equilateral triangle. We're not specifying them into isosceles or equilateral. I'm just making these lines. Okay, so it has 3 sides. What is that? 3 sides. A rectangle, 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 4 sides. A square, again, it has 4 sides. A pentagon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has 5 sides. A hexagon has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 sides. So, hexagon has 6 sides. An octagon, on the other hand, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8 sides. And a circle has infinite sides. Okay, it has infinite sides. Similarly, these were 2D shapes. All of this were 2D shapes, right? They did not have... Okay, I won't tell it to you. I'm going to disclose it afterwards, okay? Now, let's talk about 3D shapes. Cube, a sphere. So, a square over here. Oops, I'm sorry. Something just happened. Yeah, there was just some issues. Anyway, so a 2D shape over here, which is a square, turns into a cube. Similarly, a circle over here changes into a sphere. A triangle changes into a pyramid, and triangle also has cones. You agree with me on that? A rectangle has a cylinder, but in a folded manner. Again, a rectangle also has a rectangular prism. We'll talk about what prism and everything is. It's fine, don't get confused now. So this is what everything is about. Right? This is what everything is about. But when I ask you, tell me 2 differences between these shapes. One, you would say that one is a 2D and one is a 3D shape. One is 2-dimensional and one is 3-dimensional. But if I ask you one more difference between them, what will you most likely say to me? What will you say? You will probably say that these have 2 dimensions. This means this has a length plus a breadth. But in 3 dimension, it has actually 3 dimensions, which means it has a length plus breadth plus height. Height as in it has a certain height. It has a certain height. It has a certain height, like that. This doesn't have a certain height because it's only a 2D shape. It's only a 2D shape. Right? Moving on. So the 2D and 3D shapes given above are single. In our vicinity, we see several objects which are combinations of different shapes. For example, a window, a tomb, a softie, a photo frame. Softie is something you see in a ice cream shop, a softie. So it has half a sphere above and it has a cone. So they're a mix of 3D shapes. Similarly, over here as well, a cylinder. You have a cylinder and you have a half a sphere again. A triangle and a rectangle. One big rectangle, inside that one more rectangle. So like that, you make different shapes. Okay, moving on to the next page. In the figures given above, you can see the combination of different 2D and 3D shapes. A window in window, rectangle is surrounded by rectangle. A tomb in tomb, cylinder is surrounded by a hemisphere. A softy in softy, cone is surmounted by a hemisphere. Surmounted. A photo frame. A photo frame is the combination of two rectangles forming a rectangular path. So if you ever see a photo frame, you'll see there's one big frame, and then there'll be one more frame where you keep your photo, your big family photo, or any other photo, like that. So that is how a photo frame is made. So there are different combination of different 2D and 3D shapes, as you all saw. So now let's do a little exercise which I have already done for you guys, and I'll tell you the answers of this. Okay, so identify and match the pictures with shapes. So basically we're trying to understand the different type of shapes over here. So I'm just going to run through this as well. A tent. What is a tent? Let's see what a tent is. A tent is a... Tell me what it is. Come on. A tent is none other than a cone surrounded by a cylinder, or surmounted by a cylinder. Now tell me, why do we say a cone is surmounted by a cylinder? Because this is a cone, this is a cylinder. So you have a cone plus cylinder. That is why you say it is a cone surmounted by a cylinder, as in the cone is surmounted, as in below it there is a cylinder attached to it. Now let's do two more. A tin. A tin is a cylindrical shell. Do you guys agree with me? Why? Because there is one cylinder. Inside that there is one more cylinder. So it's a cylindrical shell. A shell. What is it? It is a shell. A cylindrical shell. Okay. Then a bowl. A bowl would be a hemispherical shell. Why? Because a sphere, it's almost like half a sphere, right? Almost like half a sphere. So that is why you call it this, right? You call it a hemispherical shell. So similarly, there are other ones as well. Let's quickly look at the answers. The answers will be 1 to G, we were right. 2 to F, again right. 2 to B, 4 to A, 5 to H, 6 to D, 7 to E, 8 to C. So these all will be your basic answers. Moving on. Now let's go on to polyhedrons. So polyhedrons is basically a solid made up of polygonal regions, and that is known as a polyhedron. A polygon is what? It is made up of straight lines, like a square, triangle, hexagon, pentagon, so you get the idea. It's like that. So cubes, cuboids, prisms, pyramids are polyhedrons. Note that spheres, cylinders and cones are not polyhedrons, because these are not made up of polygonal regions. Now when I say these are not made up of polygonal regions, this means is that they are not made up of straight lines. They have at least one curved surface. Like a sphere, its whole ball, if you see a ball, the whole thing is a curved surface, so it cannot be called as a polyhedron. Similarly, in cylinders, this whole surface is a big curve. It has one big curve. And lastly, in cones, something like this, right? This is also a big curve over here. So it has at least one curved surface. So for the shapes that have at least one curved surface cannot be called as polyhedrons. They're known as non-polyhedrons. Okay. Now let's get to know about convex polyhedrons. So polyhedrons that are made up of convex polygons are called convex polyhedrons. That is, polyhedron whose all faces are convex polygons is called convex polyhedrons. Polyhedrons which are not convex are called as concave polyhedrons. Like, you have a concave and a convex angle. Similarly, over here you have a convex and a concave polyhedron. So these are concave polyhedrons over here. See the angles over here, and this is a convex. Okay, I'm extremely sorry. This is a convex polyhedron, and this is a concave polyhedron. You can get confused between the names. It's like saying accept and accept. It's one of those things, but don't get worried. Once you get the concept right, you'll understand as well. So this is a convex polyhedron and this is a concave polyhedron. Now, let's talk about regular polyhedrons. So, a polyhedron is said to be regular if all its faces are regular polygons and the same number of faces meet at a vertex. A vertex, this is what you call as a vertex. These edges. No, I'm sorry, not edges. Edges are completely different. But normally, when we touch something hard, we're like, oh, this is edge. So by normal English language, you can say it's an edge. But by geometry or mathematics language, forget edges. It is called a vertex. And two or more are called vertices. What is it called? Vertices. So some of them are cube, rectangular prism, pyramid. A polyhedron is regular, its all faces are regular polygons, and all the vertices are formed by three faces. Okay, so as I was saying, this polyhedron is regular, its all faces are regular polygons, and all the vertices are formed by three faces. So, it's a regular polyhedron definitely because it's made up of straight lines, and it's a regular one. Everything is same, all the sides, faces, everything is same. Now let's go on to the rectangular prism. So this polyhedron is not regular. Its all faces are not regular because some of them, as you can see in the side, this is smaller than this face. So some faces are big and some faces are small. That is why it's not known as a regular polyhedron. Okay, its all faces are not regular polygons while all the vertices are formed by three faces, that is same number of faces. Similar as this because basically both of them are almost the same, only all their faces, its vertices, everything, its edges are exactly the same, and in this they differ, right? They differ over here, it has length over here, breadth over here, right? So they differ according to that. Now, pyramid, this polyhedron with equal edges is not regular again. Why? Because when you talk about a pyramid, right, all its faces are regular polygons, but all the vertices are formed by the same number of faces. A is formed by 4 faces, whereas B is formed by 3 faces. That is why you cannot say it is a regular polyhedron. That's why you say that cube is a regular polyhedron. Okay, now let's move on to prism. So what is a prism? A prism is something whose lateral faces are rectangles. So if I give you a figure such as there is a, okay, imagine that this is a pentagon. I know it's not nice, but okay, imagine this is a pentagon, 2 sides, and it's joined everywhere by rectangles all around it. This is what you call as a prism. So the 2 faces are congruent to each other, are same. Okay, this is a pentagon, and this will also be a pentagon, while the lateral faces will always be rectangles. Now, if you ask me if both of this is also a rectangle and they're joined by rectangles itself, then it will just be called as a cuboid. Okay, so rectangular prism is known as a cuboid itself. So there are different types of prisms. Hexagonal prism, where both of them are hexagons on both sides. Okay, there are 2 hexagons on both sides. Then pentagons, where there are 2 pentagons on both sides. Then you have triangular prism, where there is triangles on both sides, right? So this is how it is, and this is what a prism is mainly. Okay, now moving on. So as I said, there were different types of prisms, so let's get to know a little more about them. So a triangular prism, a prism whose base and top are congruent, see, as I told, congruent to each other, and the lateral faces are rectangles, is called a triangular prism. So this is, so the two faces are congruent, so you can see the top and the bottom are the same. They both are triangles, and the lateral faces that join it, okay, that join 1 2, it joins 1 2, it joins, but join both of those triangles which are top and bottom is a prism, and those are rectangles. Okay, now moving on. Rectangular prism, again, as I said, it's a cuboid in words. In normal words, it's a cuboid because a prism whose base and top are congruent rectangles and lateral faces are also rectangles. It's all made up of rectangles, which is a 2D shape. So all of them are made up of rectangles. Therefore, it is called as a cuboid. So you can call a cuboid also as a rectangular prism. You can also call it as a rectangular prism. Now, then a pentagonal prism. A prism whose base and top are congruent pentagons and lateral faces are rectangles is called pentagonal prism. Similarly with hexagonal prism, as I also showed it to you, see, congruent, rectangles, and rectangles. Okay? Now let's move on to a pyramid. So just as in prism, the lateral faces are rectangles. In pyramid, what happens is the lateral faces, you can say, are triangles, but with a common vertex, meaning like this. All the triangles come to form an apex, a common vertex, this. In prism, what was there, it had a common top and bottom and just rectangles joining them. But in this, all the triangles come to a basic apex or a vertex. They meet at an apex. So this is what you call a pyramid. Now remember, a pyramid whose base is a triangle, okay, and is joined by triangle as well. So the base is also triangle, and there's the lateral faces are also triangles, is also known as a tetrahedron. Okay, it is known as a tetrahedron. Okay, now in pyramids, the base can be of any shape. It can either be a square, rectangle, pentagon, hexagon, anything, even a triangle, also known as tetrahedrons. So it can be anything like that. Let's get to know a little more about them. Triangular pyramid, a pyramid whose is called a triangular pyramid. It is also known as a tetrahedron. Rectangular pyramid, a pyramid whose base is a rectangle, is called as the rectangular pyramid. So as you can see, the base is a rectangle. It joins at a common apex or a vertex. Similarly over here, 1 2 3, common apex or a vertex. Now, similarly, there are square pyramids. A pyramid whose base is a square is called as a square pyramid. A pyramid whose base is a pentagon is called as a pentagonal pyramid. And hexagonal pyramid, or a pyramid whose base is a hexagon, is called a hexagonal pyramid. Now, let's get to know about faces, edges, and vertices. So each of the polyhedrons have faces, edges, and vertices. So faces, the polygonal regions forming a polyhedron are called as faces. So this is a face, this is a face, this is the face. So basically polygons, like in a cube, this is a polygon made up of straight lines. So polygons that make a polyhedron are known as faces, basically the outer parts. And the edges are the line segments. So in English, edges would be, a sharp edge. That's what you say. I hurt myself with a sharp edge. So that is what you call edges in the English language. But actually, if you see in maths, an edge is a line segment. So let's not compare it to the English one, and edges are basically these line segments over here. So if I say how many edges it has, I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it has 8 edges. It has 8 edges. Now vertices in a language of geometry will be the actual points, the point that you feel. 1, 2, 3, 4, like the sharp vertices, sharp edges if I say in English, but in geometry I'll say vertices. So in this, how many vertices does this have? I'd say it has again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it has 8 vertices. And edges won't be 8, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I was wrong. It has 12 edges, 8 vertices, and 6 faces. Now, for polyhedrons in the given figure, we have F equals to 6, E equals to 12, and V equals to 8. So there's something called the Eulers formula, in which you have a formula of F plus V equals to E plus 2. F minus V, which equals to E plus 2. What is it equal to? E plus 2. Okay, I'm extremely sorry. It's F plus V only, which equals to E plus 2. So this formula is basically for proving that yes, a cuboid has 6 faces, 12 edges, and 8 vertices. A cube. So I'd say 6 faces plus 8 equals to 12 plus 2. So what is 8 plus 6? It's 14. 12 plus 2 is 14. Therefore, verified. And if one of it's missing also, so you use this formula. So this is known as the Euler's formula. Okay. Now, we have some questions over here, such as F is equal to 20, V is equal to 12, E is equal to what? So in these questions, what you'll do is you'll have F plus 12 equals to E plus 2. So you have 20 plus 2, which will equal to what? 32, which equals to E plus 2. Move here. You can say 30. So E equals to 30. Okay. So this is how you use your Euler's formula. And with this, that's it. After this is just questions of 17.2, which I give you as homework. Solve this and hope you all understood everything. And thank you. Bye.